Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is November 11th, 2024. This is the regular board meeting for the School District of Waukesha Board of Education. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Ettinger, can you take the roll call, please?
Mark Borowski.
Here.
Eric Brooks.
Here.
Thomas Harlan.
Here.
Betty Koenig.
Here.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Here.
Diane Voigt.
Here.
David Wad.
Here.
Anthony Zenobia.
Here.
Kelly Piasek.
Here. And can you please verify that the meeting has been properly posted?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. All right, we're jumping right into bright lights tonight, and I'm pleased to welcome Lynette Kalmage, who is the Executive Director of the Waukesha Education Foundation, to give us an update on WEF tonight. Thank you. Welcome, Lynette. You have to press the button. Yeah.
There we go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. And as Dr. Piasek mentioned, my name is Lynette Kalmage. I'm the Executive Director of the Waukesha Education Foundation. And we are proud to be here today to share our story and to talk with you and our school community about some of our accomplishments and where we'd like to go next. This evening, we are going to share some of our successes, but we're mostly going to be talking about our future goals and ask you to consider how you can help us fund the future. So with me this evening, I have two wonderful human beings, Dr. Jean Shoemaker, who is our current board president, and Janica Sabatnik, who is our current vice president and our board president-elect, and will be taking over the reins of our board of directors this January. Our motto, as some of you may know, is strong schools, strong businesses, and strong communities. And that encapsulates our mission to create a brighter future for all through the combined power of innovation, education, and a community that cares about that. Because we believe that strong schools equals strong businesses equals strong communities, we believe that the future of our community and our city are going to start within the four walls of every building in this district and even the virtual walls of eAchieve. We believe that by encouraging our community members and our businesses to invest in our schools, that we can help create a stronger future for everyone involved. Janica is going to share a little bit with you about what we mean when we say strong schools.
Thanks, Lynette, and good evening, everyone. At the core of our foundation is the belief that education is the cornerstone of opportunity. We invest in innovative educational opportunities through our annual grant program and equip educators with the tools they need to implement these innovative programs in their classrooms. By providing support to teachers, providing resources, and enhancing educational facilities, we ensure that every child has access to a quality education. We also provide ways for businesses to invest in scholarship funds and help them reach students who need them as they pursue post-secondary education. Lynette will be back up to talk about strong businesses.
So education and business are natural partners. Our foundation partners with local businesses who support our work via annual sponsorships, event sponsorships, and straight donations. In addition, our scholarship programs now allow businesses to directly invest in graduating seniors to help them fund their secondary opportunities. So by doing this, we prepare students to enter the workforce with confidence and competence coming out of the School District of Waukesha. And this skilled workforce is going to benefit businesses and boost our local economies. One way that we honor great business partners is through our annual Corporate Partner Award. Nominations for this award for 2024 are still open through the end of the month. And we've been talking about this at every school board meeting for probably the last 6 months. So I know you already know that. A strong community is our next cornerstone. And a strong community is built on the foundation of education, economic growth, and a sense of belonging to something that's bigger than ourselves. We believe that when schools and businesses thrive, communities thrive. We take an active part in our community. One example is our recent Share the Gloves campaign, which we ran as part of our year-end giving to also support another local nonprofit. We told our donors that for every $50 donated to our organization between late October and December 15th, which is coming up, we would donate a pair of winter gloves to the Christmas Clearing Council. To date, we have raised enough money to donate more than 60 pairs of gloves to this cause. Because of additional donations from Blaine's Farm and Fleet in Waukesha and the Waukesha Kiwanis Club, we have been able to even offset these costs and become even more impactful. We offer volunteer opportunities for our students, which give them an opportunity to be part of our story. So the picture in the slide is our annual pie sale. That is the SALT program at South High School. And those kids packed $7,000 worth of pies in 45 minutes. And it used to take me all day to do that. So we really appreciate having kids involved in our programming, whether it's coming to our events and selling tickets or being at the door and welcoming guests. The students that come to our events are always very impactful for the people that are attending it. One way that we honor our students and give them to be an opportunity to be these stewards is to provide them with opportunities at every single event that we do, whether it's during the school day or outside of it. And one way we honor our great community partners is through our annual Community Partner Award, and nominations for that 2024 award are still open until the end of the month. So in short, our program celebrates community engagement in our schools and then encourages civic responsibility and models that commitment to our young people, because together we can do more. Janica.
So we have been very vocal about our impact in the past and have shared our story with you multiple times, which we are very appreciative of. However, we would be remiss to not talk about our financial impact. Since our inception in 2002, the Waukesha Education Foundation has funded over $500,000 to support projects and initiatives that directly benefit the students in the school district of Waukesha. In 2024, our foundation provided $55,000 in classroom grants, which is another new record we are proud of. And these projects are currently being implemented in classrooms across the district. This amount has almost doubled since 2018. We have partnered with every single school and impacted many district-wide programs over the course of our grant program. We have also provided over $380,000 in scholarships to graduating seniors to provide funding for their post-secondary education. In 2024 alone, we provided nearly $50,000 to 47 graduating seniors. While our fundraising dollars only go to raise money for our grant program, engaging donors and businesses through scholarship options are a great relationship starter to share how they can also impact education from grades pre-K through 12 by considering investing in our grant program. And next up, Jean is going to share a little bit about the growth that our organization has experienced.
Thank you, Janica. Good evening, everybody. We experienced so much growth over the last 7 years. I'm really proud being involved as long as I have. I've really seen our organization go to on the next level, and I'm really proud of the people that have made that happen. I'd like to highlight some of our growth the last several years. Since 2017, we've added a part-time executive director. We joke it's not really part-time, but thank you so much. We also have additional staff that we use on a basis for special projects that we have. Prior to 2018, we relied on several board members that were all volunteers to get the work done. We realized quickly that we had to get somebody in our group to help us professionally to get us to the next level. So again, the hire of Lynette was one of the best things we ever did for our organization. We've had great growth in our annual sponsorship program. If you see back then, it was $4,000 in sponsorship. Now it's $40,000, so a tenfold increase in that, so we're really proud of that. We also increased our grant awards from $28,000 in 2017 to $55,000 this past year. That's almost double. $55,000 is a record amount. Back in the day, we gave out $20,000 and we were ecstatic, hoping someday we'd get to this point. So $55,000 is a good amount, but we're striving to get even more money to the school district in the future. We're hoping that, again, $55,000 for next year and maybe more. There's a kind of a complicated formula how we figure out that much that we give to our grants. Lynette said, if you want some more information how we get that number, we'd be happy to sit down and explain how that works. But again, we're hoping to do at least $55,000 again this year. If you look for our scholarships, $25,000 in 2017 to $50,000 in 2024. Again, double what we've done. And my wife and I are scholarship donors. And the people that you meet, the students, are so well-rounded, such neat people. So it's nice that we reward students who do good things as they go on to secondary education. Also, too, our investments, our unrestricted grant endowment balance was $602,000 in 2017. Now, I'm sorry, was $327,000 in 2017, and now we doubled that up to $602,000. So again, nice increase in our endowment balance. And then our increased overall investments in WEF is almost $2 million. Back in 2017, we've had $1,100,000, and now we're up to $2 million. So again, due to our investment portfolios, grant funds and scholarship funds, we've done a really nice job raising that to almost $2 million. So again, we're proud of that. We don't want to rest on our laurels, so we're hoping we get that even higher in the future. So back to Lynette.
So what's next? Which is really the whole point. In order for us to make an impact, our focus needs to now be on two things. Number one, we need to continue to grow our endowment. Our endowment is what drives how much money we give every year, and the more we can grow our endowment through our fundraising efforts, the better off we are going to be in the long run. We also need to continue to minimize our costs and keep our overhead low, and that will allow these investments to continue to grow. And secondly, we need to expand our presence and build relationships with private donors, business donors, and community partners to help us drive the growth that we need. Being able to share our story, and more importantly, being able to have other people get involved in our growth and be able to share our story is of utmost importance. So why are we here? We're here to share our story with you and anyone watching this evening, and we need your help. Here are some ways, specific ways that you can help. Be an ambassador for WEF. Learn about what our organization does and share our mission with others and be able to talk to that in a very confident manner. Secondly, take an opportunity to volunteer. I believe the best way to get involved in any organization is to volunteer. To be very honest, when my children were young, I volunteered a lot, and I think that's what ended up me in this position. So it's a great way to understand what is going on in a community at large and any organization, not just ours. So if you're passionate about something, volunteer. You'll be amazed at the people that you meet. Donate or help us identify donors. We know not everyone is in a position to make a donation to our organization, and we understand that. But if you could help us by helping to share our network, your network, that would be wonderful. Help us find individuals and organizations that you know support education in our community and help us to connect with them. Lastly, remember that we're partners. Something that people don't understand about our organization is that we are an independent 501c3 nonprofit. We are not part of the School District of Waukesha. However, our only customer is the School District of Waukesha. So remember that we're partners. We are not here to compete with district programs. We are here to supplement them. And our partnership has always been one of mutual respect and understanding. So in short, help us help you. I would like to just take a moment to say thank you and recognize our 2024 Board of Directors, both voting and non-voting members, whose names and photos are up on the screen. 3 of these members attended their last board meeting last week, as they have finished their service terms. Dr. Jean Shoemaker, Brian Running, and Nick Ansley have been longtime members of our Board of Directors, with Dr. Shoemaker serving almost 10 years, Brian Running serving 9 years, and Nick Ansley serving the last 7 years. We will miss them, and they have been amazing assets. With their departure, our board voted in 4 new board members who will start with us in 2025. Libby Miller, Elizabeth Cliff, Wendy Liska, and Paula Nice are going to be joining our board, and we look forward to having them. We are also thrilled that Janica will be stepping in to be our board president. Janica received a scholarship from WEF when she graduated from West High School in 2018. That summer, she joined us as an intern, and she has quite literally grown up in our organization, and we are so thrilled with her leadership, and we're so proud of her. We have several non-voting members on our board, including the superintendent, a teacher liaison, and a Board of Education liaison. Some of these people are here tonight, so thank you to Dr. Siebert and Betty Koenig for her work supporting our board. We would also like to recognize Diane Voigt and Mark Borowski, who have also served in this capacity through their involvement and dedication in our organization. And many other board members have reached out to me personally to see how they could help and get involved. And I really appreciate all of you who have been there to help and volunteer. We appreciate all of the work that you do. So we would be also remiss to not throw up a slide about our upcoming event. I'm always out here. You can't hide. So our Evening for Education, again, is in March. You all received invitations already. Some of you have already purchased tickets. Thank you. The information is up on the board, though, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Ticket sales are open, sponsorship sales are open, and be sure to use the special discount that we've offered you as district representatives. So with that, I'd like to thank you for inviting us and ask if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Lynette. Mr. Wadd.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. I love watching the progress that you all are making I knew very little about WEF before I got really involved in school board issues, and the more I learn about it, the more wonderful I think it is, the job you all do. Something you had just mentioned kind of triggered a thought. I'm wondering if you know this, and if you don't, that's fine, but you had mentioned that, Janica came back immediately following graduation as an intern and has stayed with the organization, obviously is within the community. Do you track your scholarship recipients? And do we have any idea how many of those students return to Waukesha when they complete their
We don't really
education?
track them once they've been awarded, and the process of paying this institution, we never pay students directly.
Right.
So there is a tracking process in making sure they went to school, making sure that, they successfully enrolled, but we don't really track them after that time. We do see them from time to time,
Yeah.
so that's kind of fun. They'll be like, hey, I won your scholarship from you guys, so that's fun to see. And we do celebrate our scholarship recipients at our partners event each spring, and so we bring them together and give them an opportunity to also meet their donors if their donor is there, and that's always a really valuable experience for them because a lot of them have not had that networking experience yet, and that's, as we all know, a big part of growing up.
Thank you.
Mr. Borowski.
Well, it's hard not to be a fan of WEF, that's for sure. And I've enjoyed what limited involvement I have had. And I know my youngest daughter has certainly enjoyed it as well. Again, what little we've done. And I think the district's involvement, sort of helping you help us is certainly an important factor in all your success. You had mentioned that, you're not part of the district, but we're your only customer, so to speak. Have you been approached by other needs in the community to support? I'm just curious if that's ever happened.
I have had some meetings with some potential donors that were frustrated that we were not also providing funding to some of the private schools in our community because obviously our name is the Waukesha Education Foundation, and there's a lot of education that goes on in this community. So I have had people approach us, but we've just educated them about our mission and what our mission statement is. And a lot of the private schools in our area have their own organizations that fundraise for them. So that's really been about the limit of the approach that I've had.
Thank you.
Mrs. Kozlowski.
Thank you. This was great. I think it was a really insightful view into all of the ways on what happens behind the scenes to grow this program. When you get to see what happens inside the schools from the day that an art teacher at Summit View is awarded her grant, or to do a tour at STEM and you get to see the machines that they do their 3D printing on, or the blessing that we've all had with the hydroponic gardens, you get to see a small glimpse of the wishes that the staff has on how they can really enhance the student experience and the education within our schools. And I think from that view, this movement now to say, look at what we have done, but look at what we can do And this is the part that I don't think the community recognizes enough, how important it is to have community engagement. We are extremely fortunate to have so many small business owners in our community. We are also very engaged with people who work for great companies such as Generac and GE that have been longtime partners. But there are so many more that, if shared, the information and the opportunity to be able to really come and invest within us and be a support and a partner would take us all the way further to the next step. And so for me, I think that is the biggest takeaway, is that we have a tremendous outreach ability to grow this, because at the bottom line, the student experience and the staff experience on what they take away from this is so invaluable. So this was fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. You're all welcome. We give our grants away every May, and some of you have been in those presentations. We kind of arrive, I call it Publishers Clearinghouse style, but I'm probably dating myself. So we arrive with, big checks and gift bags, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, we've had teachers literally start crying over a $200 grant because it's something that's so meaningful to them. So to see it and then to go back later and see it in action. One of the things we're doing different at our event this year is we've always highlighted our award winners, which are very important. Those award winners are very important pieces of our puzzle. This year, we're actually going to switch gears, and we're going to highlight 3 of our grant winners. And so we've been working on videoing and educating, each other about where these different programs are now that they've kind of been in the system for a little bit. So we're excited about that. And actually, the hydroponic grant is one of them that we're going to be talking to, because it's been amazing.
Is there anyone else, Mrs. Boyd? Did you?
I just wanted to officially thank the 3 board members that have served 10, 9, and 7 years, because the growth that we have seen wouldn't be possible without that strong leadership, as well as Lynette's role in over the course of the last 10 years.
Thank you. So,
Mr. Borowski?
Lastly, I just want to echo what Lynette said. The delivering the grant money or the grant checks is really a great volunteer opportunity. I was able to do it 1 year, and then last year, for whatever reason, I can't remember, I had to cancel last minute, which was kind of upsetting. But when you think about it, it's great to give checks away, especially ones you did not write. So I would encourage you to do it if you get a chance.
it's just fun to see. It's one of those things where at the end of that day, you're like, okay, that's why we do what we do. You really see how much it means to a lot of the people, and we still have to say no to a lot of great grants, which is why our fundraising and partnerships is so important. There's a lot more opportunity out there. We just have to find it. And I'm only one person, and my board is only one group, so we need a lot of help.
I'm just going to add to that you're only one person, but you work as though you're 15 people. I know you take the time to engage with all of us and answer questions and to work on the details. I know you have Dr. Shoemaker and Janica and the rest of the board behind you, but we see what you do and are very grateful for all the things that you do as well. The quality of the events, and all of us know who have been to the events, are just so high quality, top notch. And everything brings us back to the mission, which is the students and being in the classrooms and creating opportunities. And I think that just comes through in your passion, even tonight when I hear you talking about the things that the organization's been able to accomplish. So we all recognize that that wouldn't be possible without what you do, Lynette, so we're very grateful for
Thank you very much.
that. All right.
Well, thank you for having
Thank you
us, and
very
thank
much.
you for all what you do. We know it's often a thankless job, and your impact on the students and teachers in this district are also very important, so thank you very much.
All right, moving on to recognitions, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Siebert.
All right, so we're going to welcome to the podium Mary Jo King, our District Communications Specialist. She's going to talk with you tonight about a new endeavor we have. It's part of our weekly Wednesday internal document, the Explorer communication tool that you've seen. And it's a new program called our Waukesha WOWs. And I'll turn it over to Mary Jo to let you know how those came about and how they're going.
Okay. Well, first, I'd like to say thank you for having me back tonight. I was really happy when Dr. Siebert asked me to come back, so thank you for having me. So new this year, we implemented a program called Waukesha WOWs. And I'm just going to go through a few steps that we took and how this came about and how we use it to recognize our staff. Hold on a second here, this isn't, there we go. Back in May of last spring, we had asked staff what they wanted to see more of in our weekly communication. There were a few themes, but one of the strongest and most resounding theme was they wanted to know and hear more about staff recognition and the good things that are happening in our buildings. So we have always had a staff recognition program where there was an employee of the month, and every month there was one individual highlighted. We're a big district, and we have a lot of really, really good things going on in this district. So we kind of took that in and we thought, okay, how can we do this? The next step was to come up with a name. So we knew people wanted to get more involved with their other colleagues, celebrate them, share what they're doing, and even sometimes emulate what they're doing, because if you don't know that they're doing it, it's hard to know that they're doing it. So we did a contest all through our weekly newsletter, and all staff was allowed to come up with a name suggestion. We had about 30 different names or suggestions, which we then took the next week, and we asked staff to vote on those names. So this was, again, completely driven by what our staff wanted, what did they want to name it, what did they want to see. With those 30 suggestions, the one that received the most votes, it was about a quarter of them all, was Waukesha WOWs. And Waukesha WOWs was suggested by Catherine Pepping, and she did get some pretty cool Waukesha, School District Waukesha swag for coming up with that name, so she was recognized for that. Then, so we ended the school year. We weren't going to implement it at the end of the school year just because we didn't want it to end and then go through summer and then bring it back up again. So about 4 weeks before school started, when we started with our weekly newsletters back to staff as they were starting to prepare for the upcoming school year, we would include in there that the Waukesha WOWs were coming, submissions are open. You know, if you have a colleague, you are more than welcome to submit. We get submissions from administrators and colleagues both, so it doesn't just have to come from an administrator. And the very first one that was published was it was in September 4th was our first one where we shared recipients. And the first one shared was Michelle Tranquita. Michelle has been a longtime employee of the district, and we started out with her. Each week, we have between 4 and 8 different staff members who are shared with Waukesha WOWs. We do get submissions really from all across the board, and I'll highlight that in a second. So once you're submitted, we create the graphic. The graphics are shared in the weekly newsletter. And then each of those recipients receive that little cling that you see on the back of the computer. They can put it on their computer, they can put it on their water bottle, their whiteboard. It can go anywhere just to say that they were a 2024 or 25 Waukesha WOW recipient. And then hopefully next year we'll come up with another design. So if they get these from year to year, they can start to collect them, and it's kind of fun. They're actually, sometimes somebody will see it before they see it themselves, and they're like, wait, what? I got one of those? So it is really fun. It has created some scuttle with everybody. Somebody said today, we didn't see it yet today, and I'm like, it's okay, it's coming. So it really has created a meaningful reason, because people, and they don't know who submitted it either. It's kind of anonymous. So that's been going really well. To date, instead of 4 employees in 4 months, we recognized 78 employees, which is pretty good. And again, these are spread all across. We have aides, teachers, administration, custodians, clerical, specialists. So it doesn't matter what you do in our district. There is such a wide variety of submissions that come in. It's all inclusive, and it's really kind of exciting. So that is really the whole gist of the Waukesha WOWs, how they came about, how they're going. I think they're going pretty well. We do have kind of a, I don't want to say a backlog, but sometimes we'll get 20 of them in a week, sometimes we'll get 4. So we kind of try to jumble them up so that we don't have just one school every week we put it out there. So it's nice. I mean, there's always something kind of waiting out there, and we always have submissions that we can share. So it's pretty fun. So that's all I have for Waukesha WOWs.
It's very exciting. Any questions? Mrs. Voigt?
It's not a question, it's just a compliment. I think it's a great idea. You know, to honor 78, recognize 78 of our staff members for doing a great job instead of just 4 for the 4 months. I think it's just an awesome way to just give the thank yous and that voice that are, you know,
Yeah.
so important.
Next year, I'd like to try to share those on social media, but I would have to get permission from those individuals to say, yes, you can share my photo out there. So there'd have to be another little caveat to that, to have them say, yes, feel free to share this. So that will probably be the next step coming out.
Mrs. Koenig?
Thank you. This is so awesome. I mean, being a former teacher myself, it's little things like this that teachers, you know, kind of, is an unexpected perk, and we don't do the job to get these, but when they do come, it's just so special. It kind of makes you fluff your feathers a little bit more, like someone noticed, you know, that I'm going above and beyond. So I really appreciate this, and I love that we're doing this for our teachers and staff.
And I will mention also that my numbers might have been off by a few. In a couple occasions, they've recognized like a full second grade aide team. So a school would say, our group of 4 aides that support our second grade students are amazing, and we want to celebrate them all together. So they'll come through with like 4. So that probably is a little bit lighter on the number than what we've really recognized, but we're still doing a pretty good job of recognizing.
Mrs. Boyd?
And I nominated you for a while, but you
You did,
didn't
that's
put
why
it
I
out
have a
there.
sticker, but I didn't put it in anything.
She never did the recognition. It was
I
after
did not,
the first
no.
newsletter. And now you have a second one that I think you deserve another wow for this. It turned out very, very well.
All right. We're good? All right.
Thank you, Mary Jo,
for
for
having me.
sharing that with us.
Oh, I have to turn my. Sorry, I have to get off of there.
All right, next up for tonight, we have a report from our student representatives. This month, we have Marissa and Jaden from Waukesha North High School. Otherwise known as the Purple Palace,
That's right.
with an assist from Mr. Shelmo in the back. And a familiar parent face in the audience. You girls can start by introducing yourselves and
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marisa Roddy, and I'm a junior at Waukesha North.
I'm Jada. I'm a senior at Waukesha North. And today we're going to be talking about everything that's been going on at our school.
So first up, I'm a part of the amazing AVID program we have at Waukesha North and throughout the schools. We are on the path to becoming an AVID demonstration school for the district, and we are very excited about that. When we had someone come in the past few months, we were like prepping. We're like, okay, this is in place. This is in place. We're all so excited, and it was really cool to see them in the classroom and see the achievements we've made throughout these years.
In the recent years, we've had a really big report card growth, and last year we had 68.7, which is the highest it's ever been for our school. So that's something that we've been really proud of.
Okay, and then next up, actually last night was our open house for the 8th graders. It was really fun. We were able to have a bunch of people and a bunch of clubs, activities, groups, sports were there. And we were able to reach out to that incoming 8th grade class to hopefully get them super excited to be a part of the North Star Nation.
We had our homecoming week it was late September, which was very early for us. But it was a really eventful week. I feel like homecoming week is always a big week for our school. We have a lot of events that go on. We have a movie night that week. And last year they started the Powder Puff back up, which hasn't been going on for like a while. And I did it last year and this year, and I can say like it's very fun, and I feel like it really brings everyone together, like being able to do something that some schools aren't able to do. I also feel like it's a really good opportunity for our exchange students at Waukesha North because it's like new to us, so them coming in, like we're all in it together, and I got really close with a lot of our exchange students through that, so it was really fun. But yeah, our homecoming week is really big. Our games are always super big, so it was a really fun week.
And then next up, our one-act play got a state recognition. We got the silver medal in the all-state, and then outstanding direction. So this was done through our Drama 2 class, which also includes Drama 3 and 4. They were very proud. They were actually learning it, as a majority of them are in the fall show as well, so they were on double time there. So it's a lot more special that we were recognized for that.
And then our Key Club is I think it is our biggest club at Waukesha North. I was a president of it last year, and Marissa was an officer last year as well as vice president this year. It provides a lot of great opportunities for students at North, and the experiences are like unmatched. I did so many volunteering things last year, and I've made so many connections with our community. And it's just a really good part of our school. It helps bring our community together and the students as well. Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say one more thing. The holiday season is a big time for us in Key Club because we have cookie baking, we have Thanksgiving meals, and then there is multiple occasions like where we decorate. We have something called the Atrium Attack. Every year we decorate a different theme. And it's coming up soon, so we'll let you know when it happens, and you'll see some pictures. And then we also have our state qualifying athletes. So we have Reese Ellingston for boys cross country. We have two sisters, actually, Katie Bell and Chloe Bell for state swim, and then Megan Piasek for girls golf. We were all super excited to see them go represent us at state and the district.
Along with that, we had 2 academic athletic awards for Claire Gurton and Ethan Holmes. I think we really strive to like balance our athletics and our academics at North, and they are 2 people that really represent us for that.
Next up, we have our all-conference athletes. We had the boys cross country, football, boys soccer, and girls volleyball, so we were all super proud of them and the teams as a whole.
And then we had our Classic 8 Sportsmanship Awards, so girls volleyball got it, and then girls tennis. And I've been on the tennis team all throughout high school, and I can say that like one of our biggest things was just making sure we had a good time, and this was like connecting with other teams as well. No matter how a match went, I feel like at the end of it, I always had a fun time, and it was really awesome to like meet new people. And I was #1 singles and #1 doubles. I switched halfway throughout the season, but there's so many good players throughout our district, and getting to know like their story of how they got to that position is really exciting.
And then a huge event for us at Waukesha North that's coming up is the 50th anniversary celebration, which will be Saturday, January 18th from 1 to 4. From 3 to 1, it's the open house, and then the formal program will be at 3 p.m. Excuse me. And we are very happy that we're in a partnership with the Waukesha Jamboree, which, just to clarify, it is Saturday, January 18th.
And then these are our social medias. We like to make it known everything that we're accomplishing at Waukesha North. So we have Twitter or X, and then Facebook, and literally everything is shared through this, like whether it's a club event or a sporting event or student accomplishments. So it's a really good way to keep up with what's going on at our school.
Thank you.
Hang out for a second. There might be some questions. Who would like to start? Mrs. Boyd.
I want to thank her for making the mention about the error in the Jamboree. We are very proud to be part of the Jamboree, but they put us down as being on Friday during final exams instead of Saturday. So it's real important for the community to realize that I don't think the high school is quite ready to have the community come visit during final exams. The next day, yes, please, Saturday the 18th.
Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you girls so much. I'm so proud of you. You guys are phenomenal speakers. I'm Jada. I'm super proud of you. Thank you. I think, I don't know if you mentioned it, what grade are you guys, seniors, juniors?
I'm a senior.
Yeah, that's what I
I'm a
thought.
junior.
Okay, so Jada, what's your plan, maybe heading for next year? What are you thinking?
So about a month ago, I committed to UW Oshkosh. I was looking up bigger schools, but I toured Oshkosh and it kind of felt like home. So I committed for athletic training. So I'm doing an accelerated 3+2 program there. And yeah, I'm doing shadowing with our current athletic trainer at Waukesha North, Kyla Renz. And I've been shadowing her since last year, and she's really like built a good home there, and like I've learned so much from her.
It's amazing. You're going to do great. And Ms. Roddy, how about you?
I'm planning to go into some sort of law.
Great.
So I'm going to start with a more local college, probably here in Waukesha, Carroll University, most likely. But then I'm going to start to branch out from there.
That's great. Thank you, girls.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brooks. And then
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Borowski.
Yeah, thank you both for a wonderful presentation. So you mentioned that North is in the running to become an avid demonstration school. Can you kind of just touch on a little bit what that means and what goes into becoming a avid demonstration school?
From what the students know, because I believe there's a lot more planning behind than just what we do, but we are able to, so in AVID we have the binders, we have the AVID elective, and then we have the AVID school-wide. So this is more focused on both actually. So in this sense, we have our binders, we have all of our ways to stay organized, whether it's digital or on paper. But we kind of use that, and then once we're recognized as a AVID demonstration school, schools from across the country who are all also part of the AVID program can look to us, because South is already one now, but we'll also be another school in the district where they can come to and see different ways to apply AVID to their regular classes and then the AVID elective.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, every time, I mean, earlier last week, we had a presentation about AVID, and I'm just constantly impressed by how much goes into that. And every student that we've had come to speak at a board meeting who's been in AVID or who's in an AVID school just speaks so highly of it, and you can tell how passionate those students are and how it is doing a great job of preparing students for the future. So thank you for speaking in today and for being a great representation of what AVID is.
Thank you.
Mr. Borowski?
Yes, again, great presentation. And I have to say that I think this is, if memory serves, this is the first presentation by student representatives that mentioned the state report card. So I'm dying to ask whose idea that was, but I'm not going to because I think I have an idea. But congratulations on the improvement.
Thank you.
Are you both in Key Club?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you share with the board the awesome tradition that you guys do on Halloween for trick-or-treating? I don't know if everybody knows about that. Did you participate
Okay,
in that?
so every Halloween, oh my gosh, We do trick or treat for canned goods. So during the time of normal trick or treating in Waukesha, we go around and collect canned goods for the food pantry. And we go like everywhere in Waukesha. We split up into different groups, and each group has their designated neighborhood. And we come back with like tons and tons of cans that get donated. And it just feels really good. We get to dress up and everything, and we even have like a competition of which group was the best dressed. So I think it's definitely one of our biggest events in Key Club, and I think it brings our community together, and it's a really fun opportunity for all the kids. I have done it all 4 years instead of trick-or-treating, and it feels really good to do something for the community, and just as simple as that too, like collecting cans from people's houses to donate.
Yeah. Another huge part of the trick-or-treating is there was some years where, actually I think this year as well, the cars were full. Like we couldn't even fit students in it. So then we had to have families run around. That was kind of a little mess, but we figured it out. And we were just very proud of the students who came out and gave their time. And then also Miss Warner. Huge shout out to Miss Warner. She does so much for our club.
I think the size of the Key Club and your ability to have fun together while doing really good things for the community is just a testament to the culture at North in general, but it's very impressive watching what you all accomplish. So thank you for that. Mr. Wadd.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to acknowledge, how awesome it is that the one-act play, is recognized as a former drama parent. I know the challenge for those particular participants because, as you mentioned, is going on at the same time as most of them preparing for their roles in the big fall production, which I saw this year. It was terrific. It was wonderful. So, first of all, as far as North Drama goes, I started to follow it when my daughter got involved, and it's just amazing what a wonderful job that drama program does in preparing those kids for their plays. The production quality is outstanding. And I would just say more broadly in the district, for those that haven't had an opportunity to go to any of the high schools' drama productions, and there's one every spring, every fall, every winter, I can't stress more emphatically, go do it. If you like theater, it's terrific, and just hats off to the drama club at North. They're doing a wonderful job there.
Thank you. We do have our winter show coming up, which is going to be Little Shop of Horrors. So it's a sci-fi show for those of you who don't know the 80s movie, but it's going to be fun. We're getting the big plant, so.
Well, I will just conclude by saying you two are incredibly talented speakers and communicators. You did a really good job tonight and fielded all the questions so well and with smiles on your faces. So thank you so much for being here and for updating us on North. What's going on?
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Happy holidays. Thank you. All right, we are now at the section of our meeting where there's an opportunity for citizens to speak. We have one speaker tonight. Because there are 6 speakers or less, our speaker will be notified at 3 minutes, but allowed up to 5 minutes to complete their comments. We expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language, and be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future board or committee meetings. Speakers are here to address the board, not the audience. The school board does not endorse any comments made by members of the community here tonight. We would like to remind our community members of the impact of their words on others and that our children are watching. We commit to communicating with you in respectful and productive ways and ask that you do the same. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and of the board and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that will detract from the meeting. Please note that no obstructions can be created between the board and the audience. Visual aids cannot be used, and the area behind the speaker and podium will be clear during public comment. Also, in order to respect our speakers and meeting participants, please silence your cell phone. Our speaker this evening is Paul Reese.
Good evening.
I want to talk to you a couple of things tonight, and one of them is about the editing of these meetings. And it was brought up in policy meeting and kind of said it wasn't happening, and it has happened in the past. I'm well aware of it happening. It made the news one time before everyone came, well, before most of you were here. Diane would remember, in July of 2020, when the Kenosha fire starters came to the board meeting, they, one of them spoke, and someone uttered an a-hole into an open mic. That was edited. It was moved out. And the person who spoke wasn't only erased after he spoke, but his speaking position was moved to the end position. I know this happened because I got a phone call from a board member. Corey called me and asked me the following day because I was walking into the boardroom as he was finishing. And he asked me, one, if I said it, and two, if I heard it. To which I said, neither happened. I neither heard it or said it, but everybody across the hall heard it. And then I went and I listened to it, and I heard it. And I have a suspicion who I thought it was. And a week or so later, I went back to listen to it again. The toll number on YouTube had changed. It had reset. It was down from hundreds to maybe 25 or 50. It had fallen. It had been edited and moved. And so this is no doubt that this had happened. And now I have no problem with people editing things and moving them, if it's done right. One, it has to be made a notice. It has to be, the tape should be marked. If something happens, like someone blurts out a kid's name or something like that, and you want to remove it, the tape should be marked edited. That this tape was edited, so if someone wants an open record request, it can be gotten. And the board should be notified in writing that this was done, so that the board, every one of you, is aware that this has happened. These things, I'm not against it happening, but these things have to be done in a proper way. And I don't know who did that. I don't know if there's any idea who has access to that link or who did it. I have no clue, but I know it was done. And there are so many things going on at that time that it was hard to bring up then. I brought it up to a couple people, I mentioned it a couple times, but there was just too much going on. So that's where I'm at with what I heard from that policy meeting. The other thing was, co-ops were brought up in the F&F meeting, and mainly swimming I want to talk about. And the swimming co-op, David brought up about taking all the high schools, and it was an inquisitive question about taking all the high schools if we could make them into one co-op. It was a good question by an inquisitive board member.
2
that was
minutes.
good. But the reason I bring this up is because I had nothing to do with it. So some things come back at me, but I had nothing to do with that, and it would have pluses and minuses. I think the best option is to take send north to south, and take the other co-ops that are at north and move them to west. I think that, because it's a bell curve that we're looking at, on co-ops, on the size of a team. You're either too small or you can be too big. There's that sweet spot in the middle, and we're not there. We're on the small side, all our teams, and it hurts us, but you don't want to go too big either. But, so, I just wanted to bring that up, because I heard about that in that meeting. There's ways with that co-op. I really think that combining north, removing that team and combining them with west and south would really be an asset to the swimming program. So anyways, I want to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys next year, that's for sure. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, moving into general business. So we have minutes for your consideration tonight. We have the regular board meeting and the executive session from November 13th, 2024. Be looking for a motion to approve?
I move to correct the minutes, to accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Zenobia. Any comments, discussion? All right, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
David Wad.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harland.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0. Any communications tonight? Okay. We'll move on to our consent agenda. Mr. Clark, would you present the gift report, please?
Yeah, two gifts tonight. Hadfield Elementary received $5,000 from Paul and Carol Becker. This money would be used to provide extra educational experience for Hadfield students. And the second, La Estacion Restaurant discounted the Waukesha South High School Boys Cross Country Banquet by $620 so that all athletes could participate at a significantly reduced cost to them.
Wonderful. Thanks for both of those. Your agenda tonight includes various categories for approval. If any board member wishes to have an item set aside for separate consideration, you will have that opportunity in a moment. There are no expulsions for your consideration. There is one policy for approval under the consent agenda tonight, Policy 5330, Administration of Medication, Emergency Care. Would any board member wish to have an item set aside for separate consideration this evening? Seeing none. Mr. Borowski, would you please present the consent agenda for approval?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We have two contract modifications and one leave of absence for approval this evening. I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All right, Mrs. Eidinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
David Wad.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0. On to the superintendent's report, Dr. Siebert.
All right, thank you, Dr. Piasek. First, tonight, I will turn it over to Ms. Gennerman for the overnight field trip report.
Good evening. I have just a few reports, overnight field trips that have been approved to share with you. So from north, we have boys ice hockey, which is a co-op team. From south, we have boys golf. We also have the South Choir. And then for west, we have two events. So the West Choir performance at the Wisconsin Choral Directors Convention. And then for west, we have the boys tennis tournament that's in De Pere. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gennerman. Briefly tonight for the board, first of all, earlier tonight we heard from Mary Jo, and I just wanted to recognize her efforts, Mrs. Voigt also did, with our most recent newsletter. It was a one-stop shop for all of the great offerings that we have in the School District of Waukesha, and we tried to time it with the open enrollment and open house season when kids are and families are thinking about options. So she did a really good job with it. Ms. Gennerman is also a driving force behind that piece. And so I just want to recognize both of them for that great effort. And then secondly, we are certainly very close to the holidays and to the year of 2025. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of our stakeholders in the School District of Waukesha for their efforts in making this a great school year to date. I have no doubt that we'll continue that. And I also want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and a joyous holiday season with your family and friends. And it's a pleasure and a joy to get to serve with all of you. So thank you very much for that. And that concludes my report, Dr. Piasek. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Siebert. All right, here comes the committee marathon. We're going to start with Finance and Facilities tonight, presented by Mrs. Kozlowski.
Thank you, Dr. Piasek. The Finance and Facilities Committee meeting met on Monday, December 9th. There were no action items and 3 discussion items. The first discussion item is the Athletic Cooperative Report. Athletic directors Eric Plitzowit from North High School and Dan Schreier from South High School were in attendance to share information related to the district's current athletic cooperatives. The second discussion item was the health insurance report. Representatives from Pro Healthcare were in attendance to update the committee on the district's employee health clinic. Jeff Schultz from the Schreier presented the 2023-2024 utilization information for the health and prescription drug programs. The committee also discussed the next steps as we work towards the 2025-2026 premium renewal. Okay. The third discussion item is the monthly budget report. The committee was presented with an update on the fiscal activity for the school district through November 30th. Revenues and expenditures are within budget limits for both the general and special education fund. The district is operating within our approved budget and all other funds. The next F&F meeting is scheduled for Monday, January 13th, 2025 at 5:30 PM in the boardroom. And Dr. Piasek, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Kozlowski. Next up is the Teaching and Learning Committee, which is presented by Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you, Madam President. We had a lot of great things to talk about that night, so this will be a few minutes. The Teaching and Learning Committee met last week, Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024. 3 action items and 4 discussion items or information items will appear on the agenda for teaching and learning this evening. Our first action item is the approval of the AP Literature Resource. The high school English Language Arts Department went through a major curriculum review process in 2021-2022. However, AP Literature and Composition was not part of that process at that time and has not been formally revised since 2011. There have been minor changes in the format of the AP exam over the years, and our current curricular resource was published in 2009. The Teaching and Learning Committee first presented information on this topic in September as part of the curricular resource renewal process, and after discussion last week, took action on the adoption of the updated AP Literature Resource, Perrine's Literature Structure, Sound and Sense, 13th edition. Excuse me. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved the adoption of the AP Literature Resource as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Kozlowski. Any questions? All right, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Thomas Harland.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
David Wad.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Okay. Our second action item is the approval of the Education for Employment Plan. Under State Statute 121.02, Parent 1, Parent M, every school board shall provide access to an Education for Employment program approved by the state superintendent. Under State Statute 115.28, Parent 59, the state superintendent shall ensure that every school board is providing academic and career planning services to pupils enrolled in grades 6 through 12 in the school district beginning in the 2017-2018 school year. Rates of enrollment in college and career readiness courses, dual credit opportunities, and training for trades continue to increase year over year. At last week's meeting, the committee was provided an update, and the 2025-26 plan was presented for consideration. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved the Education for Employment plan as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
And I second it.
Thank you. Mrs. Voigt?
At that point, Molly did a marathon, a very quick presentation in a marathon meeting. Obviously, it is a required kind of thing to happen, as you mentioned, the statutes that go along with it. And I just encourage everyone to take a minute to look at the infographic that she had put together, because there are really a lot of amazing programs that we're offering for our students in the Career and Technical Education program. And it's very much, should be celebrated. 10 minutes didn't do a lot of justice to that, but she was very conscious of your time.
Most definitely.
Mr. Brooks?
Thank you. Yeah, just want to echo that sentiment. It was an incredible presentation, and just a reminder of how many outstanding programs that we have in the school district of Waukesha for, kids who maybe the traditional college path is not the best fit for them, or even kids who are, and they're looking to just expand on their skill set and interest. There's so many great programs that we have here in Waukesha, and it's just incredible to see the level of growth that we're seeing and the success that we're having.
Anyone else? All right, Mrs. Ettinger?
Thomas Harland.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
David Wad.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Okay. One final action item tonight is the approval of the summer school program plan. The School District of Waukesha has offered a successful summer school program for several years. The program consists of academic and enrichment activities for all grade levels in accordance with Board Policy 2440 and Wisconsin State Statute 118.04. Planning for the 2025 summer school program is well underway, including confirmed dates of June 16th to July 11th, 2025 for elementary courses, and June 16th to July 25th, 2025 for secondary courses. The TNL committee was briefed on additional information to include locations and transportation. Specifics, including course information, will be brought forward in February before enrollment begins. On a vote of 5-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved the summer school program for the 2025 as presented. We request board approval, and I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Zenobia. Any questions or comments? All right, Mrs. Ettinger, take the roll call, please.
David Wad.
Aye.
Thomas Harland.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0.
Okay, our first discussion or information item tonight is Board Policy 2221, Special Observance Days. In August of 2023, Board Policy 2221 was discussed and approved at the Teaching and Learning Committee meeting and then at the full board meeting. In November 2024, the Policy Committee discussed some technical corrections. At the November 2024 full board meeting, a request was made to discuss the policy further at the next Teaching and Learning Committee meeting. The committee members reviewed the current observation days listed in the policy and moved this to the full board for further discussion if necessary.
Mrs. Voigt.
I just had one comment related to that. As we looked at the technical corrections, the change was that the board is in compliance with the statute in 11802. The board directs the following days are appropriately observed at all schools. Ironically, at the same time this was going through the process, I had 3 different requests to how do we handle Columbus Day? And it's like, well, that's not a part of my job description. And then I saw the technical corrections and I'm like, yeah, it is. They took out the part that the superintendent is supposed to make sure it happens. It's us that's supposed to be sure it happens. And I took a look at, the context of so many of these observations, the days of reference that are being observed, the days of observance rather, are ones that I wasn't really aware of. And just since it is part of our job description, if you might want to take a look, I think you had mentioned at the meeting that, you discover something about some of them, like, say, what was the one here, the Mildred Fish Harnack, et cetera. Had not realized that she was a native-born American that was executed by the Gestapo, by the Nazis in Germany. So again, it is part of our job description. And originally, the question that had been posed to me was, do we still recognize Columbus Day? And, obviously we do. I was wondering if we did recognize Indigenous Peoples Day, and I came to the meeting and saw on the big screen that we not just recognize the day, it's a whole month. So that was, totally took care of, any concern that I had in that regard. But just realizing that this is part of our job description now, that's after the technical corrections.
Are there any concerns by any other board members that the technical corrections change the substantive content of the policy? They shouldn't, so we shouldn't be in a situation where a technical correction would change substantive content. I don't believe that it did.
No, it
Okay.
was just,
No.
like I said, when they asked me, it's like, that's not part of my job description, and I saw this, and it's like, oh, it is.
Yeah. Right. We approved it, though, just a little over a year ago. Did something change in the policy that,
Just the concept of technical
okay.
corrections.
okay. Just by bringing it forward? Okay. Okay, any other
Okay.
comments? Okay.
All right, our next discussion information item is AP Psychology resource. Due to changes made by College Board and the AP Psychology course, an exam beginning in the 2024-2025 school year, the high school social studies department is reviewing and realigning the curriculum. The last revision occurred in 2006 with little to no updates since that time. As the course has shifted from a social science approach divided into 9 units to divided into 5 units built on scientific practices, this informational presentation was the first of 2 in sharing the process that is underway to research and recommend the renewal of the updated AP Psychology resource. Okay. Our next discussion information item is an Avid update. At last week's meeting, the committee members received an overview about the district's Avid program, including the varying programs at each grade level, and a summary of what Avid looks like school-wide. Avid Elective and Avid Excel were also presented.
Mrs. Kozlowski.
Thank you. I wanted to highlight something on the Avid that I actually had clarification on when the presentation was, which means that we have Avid schools and Avid elective. And the distinction on this, we do get feedback from parents asking how they get their children in Avid, thinking that Avid is a subset or a program or they have to enroll. And the reality is that there's 2 pieces to that the Avid school actually is giving them the same hands-on principles and concepts of Avid, as well as the Avid elect. And I think that's a fair point just for our community to understand, because there's so many great things about Avid and the structure and the content and the course, that knowing that this is what we are handing down to all of our students, I think is it's something I think people misunderstand, including myself after last week, so.
Anyone else?
Okay. Our final discussion information item is the state report card results. As part of the state accountability system, the Department of Public Instruction, or DPI, produces report cards for every publicly funded school and district in Wisconsin. These report cards include data on multiple indicators for multiple years across 4 priority areas: achievement, growth, target group outcomes, and on track to graduation. In addition, the report cards provide course and program participation information for grades 9 through 12 for public schools and districts. A school or district's overall accountability score places the school and district into one of 5 overall accountability ratings. This presentation reviewed the district's data more in depth using the following 4 priority indicators as measured on the Department of Public Instruction state report card: achievement, proficiency in English language arts, or ELA, and mathematics; growth, year-to-year progress in ELA and math achievement; target group outcomes, outcomes for students with the lowest test scores; and on track to graduation, reliable predictors of how successfully students progress toward completing their K-12 education.
Mrs. Kozlowski.
Thanks. I think it's fair just to pause on student report cards. The metrics that were used this past year were changed again by DPI, which in essence really lowered the standards and the scores, and how they use to measure the report card is different, and it's hard to compare year-over-year trends. I think in the Teaching and Learning Committee, we addressed that there's a 15-page document that tells you how to interpret and classify to understand what the report card is. And I think it's really important for our community to understand what that means in taking a look at it. But the report card is something that all 421 districts in our state are using. We're all using the same types of methods and trying to understand it. The school district of Waukesha still ranks the 7th largest district in the state. And with this recent report card, we are now ranked number 1 in the top 10 districts of the state. These are really big things for us to say, looking at the report card and the highlights that it's saying as an overall. I think these are some positive things. But the highlight I think that's really important for us is in talking with Ms. Gennerman and the team is understanding that our internal data that is talking about our achievement, which is the movement of our students in both proficiency, achievement, and growth, we are seeing significant growth and improvement across this. And I think really the goal and the piece to highlight is, over the last 4 years, the administration, our teachers, and our staff have gone through a tremendous amount of curricular updates, whether they're piloting, implementing, growing. And when we start to take a look at a lot of the information, even that we're seeing at the elementary level, specifically in literacy, that achievement and growth is significant in what we're seeing, and to be able to say that what we're doing. So to our teams and to our staff that are putting in all of this, is hard to put through curriculum, but the end game is achievement and proficiency, and we are seeing that with our students and the growth. And I think that is something that we really, shy of overshadowing my complaints about the report cards themselves, the win is that the school district of Waukesha is growing. We are seeing that, and that we are recognized as one of the top, and now the top district in the state on a lot of categories.
Mr. Wadd?
Yeah, I think I want to take Ms. Kozlowski's comments, which I completely agree with, and highlight some things about these report cards this year that frustrate me as a board member and frustrate me as a member of this community, because I feel as though what gets presented to the public, which you can go and get from the DPI website, does not tell an accurate tale of what's going on here, and it doesn't give people in the public any opportunity to differentiate between schools that are succeeding or are closer to matching the achievement goals that you might have as compared to other districts. And so I'll talk about what I mean. I'm looking at side by side the two report cards of the School District of Waukesha and Milwaukee Public Schools. Now, I may get accused of picking on MPS. I talk about them a lot. But the reality is, everyone in this room knows that there is perhaps no more, there may not be a urban school district in the country that is failing its students more than the Milwaukee Public School System. If I just look at the top page, according to DPI, MPS is meeting expectations, so is the School District of Waukesha. You could not make a differentiation from that. If you were just a parent, say you were living in Montana and you wanted to move to Wisconsin because you got a new job in southeast Wisconsin, and said, where am I going to go to get data that tells me what school districts, and then within those school districts, what schools I should be looking at as a place for me to reside so that my students will get the kind of education I'm hoping for. This right here would suggest to them that you could do just as well in the Milwaukee Public School District as you could in the School District of Waukesha. That's absurd, and everyone at this table knows it. Everyone knows it. However, the thing about these is they're political documents. There's data in there that we get from the state. I've talked with Ms. Gennerman about it. That's valuable to us in being able to understand what's happening in our schools, and that data is used in conjunction with the other data that we have from our internal assessments and everything else. But I guarantee you that when we get to next spring and there are board races and people are going to start talking about schools and performances in this district, they are going to ignore everything that Ms. Kozlowski talked about. All the successes we're having here, where we can see that our investments in curriculum and professional development are having a real impact. Instead, they're going to look at two schools in our district that now have a rating of meets few expectations that met expectations the year before. So let's just talk about a side-by-side comparison of two schools, one in the School District of Waukesha, one in the school district, or in the Milwaukee Public Schools, both middle schools, and just take a look at the top line data. I'm not going to name the school in MPS, but if anyone wants to see it afterward, I'd be happy to share it. But it is a grade 6 to 8 school with 552 students. Horning, 6 to 8 school with 560. Sum of the achievement score. Horning, 46.5. This school, 32.3. ELA score, 48.9 for Horning, 39.3 for the school in MPS. Mathematics achievement score, Horning, 44. The school at MPS, 25.4. On track to graduation, a 10-point difference there. Over 3/4 of the students at Horning are on track to graduate. 8th grade mathematics achievement score based on the 8th grade evaluation that they do, which everyone talks about being so critical to see where you're at from a mathematics perspective. 43.5 at Horning, 27.5 at the school in Waukesha. Horning meets few expectations. The school at MPS meets expectations. It's garbage. It's garbage data, it's a garbage report, and I'm sick and tired of us having to sit here and pretend that these reports are supposed to mean something to us. And what's worse is that people in our community are going to use these kinds of reports in political fashion, just as DPI intended them to. So, while I share in celebrating all of the great successes, I sit here tonight frustrated beyond belief that we continue to see a politicized DPI continue to change goalposts and change the measures by which we determine whether a school or a district meets expectations or not based upon their personal political goals. Now, I'm just going to share one last item before I pass it on. Someone might ask, well, how do we get there? How does MPS wind up with a meets expectations score, or this school? Let me share. We heard about priority weights. And certainly, as a school district, we want to see growth as well as achievement, and all of those are important components. How our target group outcomes, what is our on track to graduation. I will just point out that at the district level, the grade that is assigned for MPS, if you look at the percentage of what achievement outcomes factor into that score, it's 5%. 5%. School District of Waukesha, roughly 25%. We have, they, in MPS, had to lower their expectations of the achievement levels of children in their school district so far so that they could turn around and politically declare that MPS is meeting expectations. I defy you to find one parent with a child in the Milwaukee public school system that would tell you that their school system is meeting expectations for their kids. It's an unfair comparison. The data is not worthy of consideration from at the top level, and frankly, I'm getting tired of talking about report cards that ultimately have no value to us as a district. Our internal data tells us way more than anything we get from MPS, or I'm sorry, from DPI.
Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. Yeah, to paraphrase one of my favorite TV shows, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Welcome to the DPI report cards where the cut scores are made up and the grades don't matter. Mr. Wad's exactly right. There's things that we can extrapolate from this data that are successes, that are valuable, but the value of standardized testing and the value of the report cards, it's always to tell us where we are so we know how to improve. And to Mrs. Kozlowski's point earlier, we had a great presentation on this in the Teaching and Learning Committee. It was about probably with discussion, half hour, 45 minutes, and 15 pages long. It shouldn't take us half hour, 45 minutes, and 15 pages long to know if our schools are doing well or not. Because most folks in our district, they're not going to take, they want to look at the report card and see the top line and say, Is my kid's school doing well, yes or no? And if not, why not? And these report cards don't tell that whole story. And to what Mr. Wad was kind of getting at was being able to say that 94% of schools in the state of Wisconsin meet expectations sounds really good in a campaign ad when you're running for reelection. But if 60% of our kids in the state can't actually read the flyers that you're putting that material on, it doesn't really do us a whole lot of good. All this does is serve to, once again, tell our students that we do not expect the most out of you. We're going to lower expectations, we're going to lower standards, we're going to change the language around what success means. Not to make students feel better, but to make adults who are not doing right by our students feel better. It doesn't do anything for our kids, doesn't do anything for our parents other than gaslight them and mislead them into thinking that their school is something that it's not. And frankly, it's a slap in the face to our teachers. I know for a fact that our teachers here are phenomenal teachers, and to say that our school district is the same as MPS is a joke to them. We've also invested in this district millions of dollars into high-quality curriculum, especially around reading, and improving our reading scores and literacy here in the school district of Waukesha, which, by the way, Jill Underly calls nonsense. She called literacy work nonsense this year. We've stuck millions of dollars into this to improve our reading scores for our students. Our teachers have spent countless hours mastering this and implementing it into their classrooms. And we cannot look at the DPI report card and definitively say, this is working. Fortunately, we do have a lot of internal data that shows that it is, and I hope that as a district we continue to look at ways that we can internally evaluate student achievement so that we don't have to rely on rigged report cards and ever-changing metrics from the state to meet an agenda. But this doesn't do anything to help our district or help evaluate what we're doing here in the school district of Waukesha. And I know we bring it up a lot, and I know we harp on this a lot, but it's important because unless you are somebody who's really in the weeds on this issue, like many of us sitting at this table are, you're probably not hearing about this. It's not something that's getting constant news coverage. It's not something that's out there kind of in the universe. If you're not super plugged in on this, you're not going to know, and you are just going to look at those top lines and say, oh, my school's doing great, or oh, my school's not doing great, and you're not going to necessarily know what all those numbers mean. And so, yeah, it's incredibly frustrating, and I hope that we can get to a point where we can actually trust the data, because we spend so much time and effort teaching students and preparing them for these tests. And the goal of these standardized tests is it's a snapshot in time to tell us where our kids are. But if the tool that we are using to evaluate the data from those standardized tests isn't itself standardized, what's the point of putting our kids and our teachers through all of these tests? It needs to be fixed, and it needs to be done sooner rather than later. And unfortunately, with the current situation in DPI, I am not optimistic that that will happen.
Mr. Watt.
Thank you. So, I should have included this in my comments before. I don't think anyone at this table is going to say where we want to be as a district. One of the things I really admire, though, about this board and the administration in particular is the commitment to continual improvement, which is why we have the data that we have and why we are looking at it and why we know where we're at with these schools, independent of what it is that DPI tells us. So I just don't want to give the impression that we've reached some point where we can say, oh, our schools are where they need to be. They're not. There's work to do in every single one of them, and the needs at each one may be different than the next. But I know that this board and I know that this administration is committed to ensuring that the schools focus on the areas that they need improvements in and that they leverage where they're doing well to get even better and spread that knowledge across the district. And of that, I'm very proud. And that's where I want to see us continue to focus our attention and not on these, what appear to be works of fiction, at least at the top line that we get from DPI.
I have just a couple of thoughts on this, and I appreciate the time that many of you have spent trying to understand what we're looking at here. And I think there's probably not enough time to talk about everything because we have so many schools and we have a district level performance as well. In the 3.5 years that I've been on the board, the system has changed 3 years, whether it be the student testing, the report card algorithm, the cut scores, the language that's being used. So in a very short period of time, when we in this room are trying to execute a transformation, we've really been handicapped by not having meaningful metrics and assessments that we can work with, and that's unfortunate. In the corporate world, transformation is what a lot of organizations strive for, and they build robust strategies to close gaps and to reimagine themselves in ways that they can do things differently. And so we've done a lot of those things, and they've been difficult, and that's included changing some of our own internal measurement because we know there's something better. We have to be able to assess what we're doing in order to see the improvement. What's unfortunate is that, for example, the students that came in tonight and talked about the progress that North High School has made, they deserve to celebrate that, and they feel it. I think Mr. Borowski had said, do students appreciate that? They do. They can celebrate that. They might not understand the algorithm like we don't either, but they do feel it, and I think our leaders across the district and our educators have done a really good job of helping the students understand what that success means and what that looks like. So that makes me sad, unfortunately, that we don't have a meaningful tool year over year that we can really put behind, those celebrations, because I've seen it in our schools that have improved. I've seen it in the schools that haven't improved, and that's the challenge, right? How do we measure that? The other piece of it is that you get the answer so far past the end that it's really difficult to understand what's happening. So imagine we told our high school students, go ahead and take this class. They start the school year, they end the school year, and 4 months later we say, you got a C. Here's a binder that explains why you got a C. See you next time. And they're already well into the next class. It's just not the way measurement and assessment and feedback is supposed to work, certainly not the way it's supposed to work in education. So unfortunately, as Mr. Wad said, these are things that really do, they represent our district in the most public way, right? So we have to do things that help us as a board and administrators understand what's happening, but also help the community understand what we have to offer and how successful our students are. With that, I guess I just have a question for Dr. Siebert and Ms. Gennerman or anyone else in the administration. Like, what does this process look like behind the scenes, and what are you all doing in addition to what you shared with us to digest all of this and to somehow use what pieces of it you can?
I can share a little bit to that. So once the report cards are released, even in the preliminary results, we're looking at them, validating the data that's in there. Oftentimes, we're first starting with even just the student population, making sure that that is all accurate and looking and scouring through not just the district report card, but all the schools. From there, really, excuse me, from there, really, we start our journey with continuous improvement. Yes, it's not ideal that we may not have some of this information in summer, but some of the information we do have, like any of the AP results, the state assessments, many of those results, while they're not public, we have them internally. And so once we get the report cards, we've already started to dig into some of the data. So some of it is just looking again at the data with some other factors. What we do as far as we'll dig down into, as far as the district and school, in each of the priority areas. So as people have talked about the importance of growth and achievement, we look at those pieces with our year over time data and look at what is going well and what are areas that we can improve, not just for the district, but it might be for a school or even a subject. So one of the areas, that was recognized and shared at the Teaching and Learning Committee was our improvements in growth. And I know that's not until page 5 of 10, but it really is a highlight to see the blue squares that indicate average growth with so many of our student populations and seeing that increase. And so what we do is we drill down into the information, and everything goes back to our continuous improvement plans with the schools. So while we start that journey, at the end of the school year and over summer, when we get this report card information, it's a moment to say, let's pause, look at what strategic actions we have in place. What do we know so far from our internal data, whether it's a different assessment, it's formative assessments, it's teachers collaborating about their planning. And then we're looking at those strategic actions and refining if we need to make any adjustments moving forward. Oftentimes, like I said, the data may not be new. It's just a different formula or a different way to look at it, but we're always looking at growth and achievement no matter what the data point. One of the most important pieces to our continuous improvement plan and process is to triangulate data. So we never look at just one piece alone. So we'll look at this growth piece, but we'll also look at other indicators also looking at growth and try and get a better picture, a better understanding. So we look at it all together and we're always refining what we're doing. We'll have teams come around the table. Sometimes that's district office staff as well as school teams to say, let's think about this. Do we need to have a conversation and a deeper dive into some of the instructional practices? Maybe we do, maybe not. But that's where we're a team together working on continuously improving regardless of the outcomes. I hope that answered. I can share more if you want.
Thank you. Thank you. I know there's so much that's happening behind the scenes, and there's the score or the rating for each school and the district, which we're all trying to make sense of, but it sounds like you're digging in at levels that we don't see, but thank you for that. Any other questions? We were still in the T&L committee report, so.
Still going. Okay, Madam President, that concludes the Teaching and Learning Committee report. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the boardroom here at the Blair Administration Building. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Koenig. All right, moving on to Student Services, presented by Mr. Zenobia.
Thank you, Dr. Piasek. The Student Services Committee met on December 3rd. We had an action item and 2 discussion information items. Our action item was in the consent agenda, was approved by committee and put in the consent agenda this evening. It was policy 5330, administration of medication and emergency care. The policy was revised to include the option of a student receiving non-prescription drugs that are provided by the school consistent from the school supplies, with parental instructions, dosage instructions, and health care provider instructions. Adoption of the revision was recommended to maintain a compliant policy. Our first discussion information item was in regards to homelessness services and supports within the district. Laura Reichert, our social worker, our district homeless liaison and foster care point of contact, and Mark Leonard, our director of student services, presented information on the legal definition of homelessness, what it looks like in our district, families' rights to an education under the McKinley-Vento Act, and current day information on reported levels of students experiencing homelessness in the district. And also in support of the presentation were 5 of our district social workers in attendance, Angie Kruger, Kathy Callahan, Kelly Bratz, Mary Green, and Samantha Tyler were all present for that presentation. Our final discussion information item was on expulsion and pre-expulsion information. Mark Leonard, again, our Director of Student Services, shared the pre-expulsion process and district data from 2017 and 2018, that all the way up and through this school year. The board had authorized the use of the pre-expulsion process in order to address student behavior issues that qualify for possible expulsion under Wisconsin state statutes. And that would complete my report for this evening. The Student Services Committee will meet again on Tuesday, January 7th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zenobia. On to Mr. Browski with the Human Resources and Compensation Committee report.
All right, thank you, Mrs. President. Earlier this evening, the Human Resource Compensation Committee met, and we have no action items on the agenda this evening, but we do have one discussion item. We discussed Board Policy 3216, staff dress and appearance, as well as Board Policy 4216, support staff dress and appearance. And we are considering some changes, and we'll continue to discuss this and take possible action in January of '25.
Any comments? Okay.
All right, our next meeting is going to be actually the third Wednesday of January on the 15th at 6 p.m. And Mrs. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving next to Policy and Government Relations, presented by Mr. Wad.
Thank you, Mrs. President. The Policy and Government Relations Committee met on Monday, December 9th, 2024. There were no action items on the agenda. We did have 4 discussion items, 3 of which were technical corrections. Technical correction 1 was to 5460 graduation requirements. For ease of readers of this multiple-page policy, column headings were added to the graduation requirements chart on pages 2 and 3 of the policy for ease of reading. The second technical correction was to policy 4440, job-related expenses. The title federal funds was added to the reference to policy 6110. And finally, policy 9150.01, elected officials speaking in schools or to students. Policy 2522, elected officials speaking in schools or to students, was renumbered to 9150.01. This change will allow the policy to logically follow policy 9150, school visitors, in our policy catalog. Any questions on any of those? All right, our fourth item for discussion was broadcasting and recording of meetings. We had a discussion around that. The district no longer has the capability to broadcast board meetings, so we asked IT Director Steve Schloman to come in and talk with us about what our capabilities are right now in terms of TV broadcast, transmission through streaming, et cetera. When he discussed the TV broadcast capabilities, he did indicate that we have been unable to broadcast via Spectrum Cable since the district office moved from Lindholm to Blair. In order to make that work again, there would be a significant cost associated with the upgrade to make broadcasting via Spectrum Cable an option once again. However, the district does live stream board meetings via YouTube, and the recordings are uploaded and available on the district website. In addition, many other meetings and events are live streamed, including graduation ceremonies and information sessions. School athletic events are often streamed and recorded via the Huddle platform, which is different from the YouTube platform that we use for district meetings such as this. Revisions to policy 9120, public information program, and 9121 cable channel will be brought forth for policy committee consideration at the 2025 meeting. And I think a lot of that will focus around, do we still need a cable channel policy? Or do we want to have a policy that talks about the various ways we might be able to provide recordings of district events? So look for that coming forward in future policy meetings. Any questions or comments on that? All right. Lastly, Dr. Siebert gave a 2025-2027 state budget update. Governor Evers is hosting 5 budget listening sessions across Wisconsin. The sessions come ahead of the governor's introduction of his 2-year budget priorities in January and February of next year, and does include a virtual meeting scheduled on Monday, December 16th, for those that may be interested in watching. Mr. Brooks also shared that the State Finance Committee will offer budget town hall listening sessions in early spring, and citizens are encouraged to attend to have their voices heard on that. Any comments on the state budget update? All right, the next Policy and Government Relations Committee meeting will be on Monday, January 13th, 2025 at 7 p.m. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Wad. All right, are there any recommendations for future board or committee action or discussion items? Seeing none, we do have a need for a closed session this evening. So I would be looking for someone to advance the motion. Mr. Brooks.
Move to adjourn to executive session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent F, to consider financial, medical, social, or personal histories of disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations. Specifically, to consider a level 4 complaint again under School Board Policy 9130.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Koenig. All right, Mrs. Ettinger, would you take the roll call, please?
Diane Voigt,
Aye.
Betty Koenig.
Aye.
Mark Borowski.
Aye.
Carrie Kozlowski.
Aye.
Eric Brooks.
Aye.
David Wad.
Aye.
Thomas Harlan.
Aye.
Anthony Zenobia.
Aye.
Kelly Piasek.
Aye, passes 9-0. Just a reminder that our January meeting schedule is a little bit different because we come right back from the holidays into what would otherwise be a committee week. So our next board meeting will be on Wednesday, January 15th, which is the third Wednesday of January, at 6:30 here in the boardroom. So for community and board members, please check the schedules regarding that. And wish you all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And we are adjourned to closed session.